my goodness. Happy New Year, everybody. Welcome to 2024 in the year of Feige. I am Christian Bladt, and the 30-second countdown was exactly what the Doctor Strange ordered, because right next to me, David Brody, as if he just ran up 5 flights of stairs to get into the studio. Thank you, David. We're so happy to have you with us.
And I burn off the pizza I had for dinner. I'm here.
Okay, but now you have the wrong microphone. So,
son of a.
go. Honestly, it couldn't have been any better. So yeah, just go ahead and select that in there. Eric Connor, someone who selected his new microphone while we were backstage, but go ahead and give us a 3 count, Eric. Let everybody know how the mic is doing.
1, 2, 3.
Oh my goodness. And of course, El Sassy Pants herself, Katie Hampton, ready for, well, let's see. So if you're red, you have a Next Generation shirt on. So you're coming to us from the bridge.
That's I am.
Man jersey, as it were.
Man
and of course, America's sweetheart, the one, the only, the Captain Carter to our little corner of the MCU, the one and only Michael X. Shirley. Michael, how are you today?
I'm doing swell.
And you were showing off that our pal Eric gave you a lovely Christmas present.
Christmas gift from Daddy.
It's the book. Oh, creepy at all.
I'm unsettled.
Yeah. He got you the book that
I know
Eric
you were
and
given
Julia
for
Lewald
free.
gave out that they put out a few years ago. They were on an incarnation of this show when it was on Popcorn Talk, and we talked about that. And yes, I had to make sure you knew that I had gotten a free copy of it. I think that's important that I let everyone know.
Yeah.
And I get so little free stuff. So the stuff that I do, I always let everybody know. I spend my own money to go and see Aquaman 2, but other stuff sometimes I get for free. Let's tidy up some business. Eric Connor, how's your health? Are you doing well?
Yes. I had my 3rd season of COVID.
Yeah, which when you texted me that, I said that there's pangolins in the Wuhan wet market that have had less COVID than you.
Which made me feel so much better, Christian. I reach out to a friend, and that's the response I get. So thank you for that. I then stared at the wall for the next 10 hours, thinking about maybe 2024. I gotta maybe thin out the Rolodex a little bit.
Trim the friends list.
Can we all agree that Loki sauce is not a vaccine then?
Now you tell me.
I'm sorry, but I'm pretty sure I saw Aaron Rodgers on TV telling me that Loki sauce is very healthy.
Oh,
but let's not get into that conversation at all. Anyway, we are here to talk about what? If. Thank you.
Sorry.
We are going to talk about season 2 of What If, and I found the idea for the way they released it, sort of an advent calendar style, where you get one a night for 9 nights. It's also, I guess, as though you were lighting your Disney Plus once a night, so that eventually at the end you had 9 flames burning brightly for season 2. And I was unable to watch any of it until the last 3 days. But who enjoyed the nightly release? Anyone want to jump in? Did they watch it in that fashion? Mr. Brody, how was that for you?
I liked it. I had nothing else to do that particular week.
Yeah.
And it gave me something every night to look forward to. I just found myself forgetting, even though it was every day.
Yeah.
I was forgetting there's another one. There's another one. So I like the rapid fire of it. I wouldn't like to do that on a regular basis with other Disney Plus shows. But for what it was, I liked it. I thought it was a good week. There was, television is on hiatus, so I was fine with it.
Yeah, no, I think that works. Our buddy over here at Geekscape, Jonathan London, he really liked the night. He found himself watching it, and he and Garrett did their own Geekscape special on this a few hate me and you want to go check that one out, I will take it personally, but I'll pretend I don't. And he was talking about how he was watching it at like 3 a.m. Every night, and it was like a perfect once a night thing. I had to binge all after the fact. It was, we took the kids up to Santa's Village up in the mountains north of LA. We did Christmas. We went to Vegas, and then the next thing I knew, it was 2024. But I like the idea of it. Michael, how did you take What If season 2?
2 parts.
Okay,
half, and then I watched half.
Yeah, I mean it's what 3.5 hours basically. So it's not that hard to do. It's I do remember when in the height of the Netflix series, I was determined to do it just once, where I watched as much as I could in a day. So I watched the first 10 episodes of season 1 of Jessica Jones in 10 hours.
Damn.
And then I had a feeling afterwards. I'm like, why did I do that?
I don't feel good.
That's a lot.
I didn't feel good. David Tennant was telling me to do things, and I did all of them. By the way, so
couldn't do that with season 2.
No. That didn't happen with season 2. In any case, I thought that this season, I will have to say I liked better than the first season, because as longtime followers of the inclinations of the show know, there was an episode in season 1 that I just absolutely hated. I could not have liked any less. We didn't have that this season. I have my favorites. I have my least favorites. And I do want, if I'm going to say the phrase least favorite, I do want to go directly to Michael Shirley. Which one was your least favorite and why?
That goofy Indian one. Or it's Native American. Sorry. The Native American.
Michael, how many hours of sensitivity training have we put you through?
The goofy Indian one.
I think my face is starting really red.
First of all, Goofy is a beloved icon of the Disney Corporation. So thank you. And second of all, yes, they're indigenous peoples. But the Goofy indigenous peoples one, I know for a fact that there are people that was their favorite one. We'll go through all the episodes, but I'm just sort of interested. Katie, which one was your least favorite? And you don't have to be like, oh, there's one I hated, but I'm like, oh, if I have to pick one, the one that I liked the least was
Episode 8, What If the Avengers Assembled in 1602?
Yeah, they kind of agree.
It was like, that's nice. But
yeah,
I have to wholeheartedly disagree with Michael Shirley.
Yeah, well, that's all right. That's why he's on this show. Because
Loki didn't do any hair flips in this one.
Whoa.
Yeah, I mean that's true. Tom Hiddleston is in the episode that Katie's talking about, and you still didn't choose that one. What about you, Eric Connor?
Well, first I just got a note from Jonathan saying that Geekscape does not vet anyone, and and thus here we are. What's funny? I was going to say the same thing. 1602, which I don't think is as what was the one that still gives you night terrors, Christian, with Ant-Man killing everyone. What was that called? What if Christian couldn't sleep at night?
What if Christian could Google faster? Is that what you're asking? Is that what you're trying to say? What if the world lost its mightiest heroes? It was just a very
nothing at that level, but
that one was, I think, exceptionally bad.
Yeah,
and it was the first time that the majority of the cast were sound-alike actors, so it didn't help. I think it had Michael Douglas, and then when you see Lake Bell's name in the credit, you're like, okay,
but honestly, Lake Bell kind of crushes it as Black Widow.
I agree.
Yeah,
but she's a great voice performer.
Sure, but
maybe
it lets
you
me
haven't
know.
watched the Harley Quinn show. I just hear Poison Ivy the whole time.
The entire
That's true.
time.
No, and she's fantastic in that as well.
Yeah,
but 1602 had like pretty much almost all
1602 was impressive. There's a few of these, and like Cate Blanchett, get a hobby. I mean, how many episodes did she want to do?
I was so stunned that she did. Like, I will say that, like, aside from the 1602 episode, but like the Kahhori episode and on were just awesome, and I was so shocked that Cate Blanchett came back for this. And how goofy is she?
Yeah.
She was having
no,
fun.
Exactly. And by the way, like I've seen Anthony Hopkins having recorded an anti-bullying PSA that they play at baseball games at Pepperdine University.
What?
And you can tell that that's not something I just made up. And I'm like, so if he do that, how can he not be Odin for 5 lines in an episode? But I guess one of those things he expects to be paid for. David Brody, which was your least favorite of this batch?
Well, because it went against everything What If is supposed to be about. Episode 3, What If Happy Hogan Saved Christmas?
Okay, so
there
we
was
will.
No ramifications. There was nobody's stayed up all night dreaming of Happy Hogan saving. Like, it was just like a goofball episode. It wasn't a What If episode.
I would have to agree. That's my close second. 1602 just kind of, I was like, yeah, that's cute and fine and whatever. But that one, I was like, really? I was also bummed that they made him a Hulk.
Well, in Whoville they say that
Hulk Hogan.
David Brody's heart shanked 3 sizes that day, and apparently so did Katie Hampton's. I have heard from multiple people that was their least favorite, but I look, if I love the episode of the 21 Jump Street spinoff Booker starring Richard Grieco, that was a ripoff of Die Hard, clearly I'm going to be all in on anything. And the name check of Reginald Vell Johnson, the awareness, I think if these came out further apart, that might have been annoying. I can see, watching that on Christmas Eve. I like when there's not ramifications. And the problem with the What If comic book series a lot of the time was like, well, what if this one minor thing changed? And then by the end of it, the craziest universe you've ever heard created. I'm like, really? Just because Wolverine was king of the vampires? And I know that's the one I always mention because it's always my least favorite. But I think that it works when they can be self-contained. However, I don't fault anyone for having that be their least favorite. I had fun with it, but I do believe that I am a bit of a John McClane homer. But I think 1602 really just had that feeling of like, okay, but why?
Yeah.
It's not what if, it's why.
Why if?
It's really why did they do that one?
I feel like I know why. It was just basically kind of a knockoff of Dark Knights of Steel, which did really well for DC last year and the year before. So to me, it was just kind of the answer to that.
And
the one thing DC did right.
Well, non-filmically, non-theatrical film, they tend to do okay sometimes. But
I feel like their artists are better right now than Marvel's artists. They're like,
I mean, if you're going to talk about the printed artists, once you turn past the 6 variant covers, sometimes it does leave a little bit to be desired. The thing about 1602, and it does tie into the Happy Hogan Saves Christmas. Why is he Purple Hulk in that? And if he had been plucked from the end of that episode, or I don't know, any way that they could have, it's like you could have tied it.
No sense.
Yeah. So there were a few times where you're like, did I miss something? Did I nod off during that one
That's
part?
Legitimately what I thought. I was like, am I drunk right now? Like,
it's not his character to be.
First of all, Katie, we know you. Yes, you were drunk.
Yeah,
100%.
Did you guys question the scene where Captain Carter meets Steve Rogers, right? And she sees that he's from another universe, but she doesn't question. She doesn't question that he's built and had the super soldier serum.
I was a little weirded out by that too.
She's never met Captain America.
1602 when
she's never met Captain
Rogers
America
Hood.
Before. She thinks that the universe is her getting the serum, and now she meets the scrawny guy she loves. Now he's muscular and he's a super soldier, right? He had the serum, and she's like, "Oh, nice to meet you, Steve. Maybe we can get." But reacts to him like he's just another Steve Rogers, and they don't have a conversation like, "Wait a minute, I had the look at your." What? There was nothing. Like, he didn't say to her, "You have the same shield I do, except you have the other flag on it," which is why I'm wearing my protest shield shirt.
Oh, exactly.
Making a statement.
By the way, our buddy Daniel Drew says that he liked the Christmas episode mainly because Justin Hammer is just a joy of a villain.
I will agree. Yeah,
Sam Rockwell showing up to voice that one. That was very fun. So I agree.
There were moments that really saved that episode for me, and Sam Rockwell was definitely one of them. Great performance, and then
there were definite nods. There were lifting some Shakespeare. There were times, but at a certain point, I was like, "Are we done with this yet?" Yeah. Daniel Drew also said it was a fun season. The finale did feel a bit rushed, which we'll get to. Other than that, I enjoyed it. I still feel like these episodes should all be 45 minutes at least, though the way it ended, woo. That's right. I gave it a woo. No, I think that this is the perfect length for these episodes. There isn't one that I was like, 10 more minutes would have really done it. You know, I think that I think they gave us what we deserved. You know, and you know we are doing this show on a Friday evening, nighttime on the East Coast, and as a result, you know, our pal over on the other side of the pond, Craig Robinson, was unable to enjoy this show live or join us. And he did tweet at us that, you know, 2 a.m. is a little bit late, which, you know, I mean, Craig, are you a fan or you're a fan? You know, I mean, at what point?
Step it up.
At what point do you put us in there? The one that stood out for him is Iron Man and the Grand Master episode. It's just as it's pure fun and maximum Goldblum, 100% on both of those things, followed by the Nebula episode and the Hela episode, and all had a good time with season 2. So, we'll go through each of the episodes right now, but I wanted to include Craig, who's fast asleep with hopefully the watcher is narrating whatever his dreams are at this very moment. Craig referenced it. Let's take a moment and talk about episode 1, which is What If Nebula Joined the Nova Corps. Shout out to Karen Gillan for actually voicing her character. Not everyone does that, but I don't know why she would say no. I think that it was probably she looked at it as like, yeah, sure, why not? It was fun. I found that to be a fun one. I think I like some of these standalone. You know, there have been comparisons to Blade Runner in that episode, and just also any kind of detective sort of story. But I mean, for me, the joy of that episode was Seth Green as Howard the Duck. And you know, every time I see Howard the Duck, I'm like, oh yeah, we were supposed to get that show that Kevin Smith, like, you know, created or you know, adapted, and I think they had 10 episodes, but we'll never see it. That's all right. But I thought that I don't know. I feel like the Nebula character was such an afterthought at first, but she grew on me certainly by the third Guardians. But it was a slow one, I think, for me. But what do you think of that episode? I'll ask each of you, but I'll start with you, Mr. Brody. What did you think of the Nebula?
I liked it. In fact, it was one of my 2 favorites. I liked the film noir style. I thought that was such a departure. Reminded me more of like the Frank Miller era Daredevil, dark, and I liked it. But kind of a Batman vibe, if I can cross companies. You know, the plot wasn't the greatest plot, but the twist was fine at the end, where she saw the whole thing coming. So I enjoyed it. I liked it. I thought it was a good first episode. Had episode 3 been the first, I would have stopped right there. So it was a good starting episode for me. I liked it.
And by the way, if Glenn Close had been Nova Prime, I think you know, some part of her would have died inside. So good for her that she was too busy. You know, that's how you know that. Maybe the career took a downturn. If she's like, yeah, sure, I'll voice Nova Prime. Why not? What did you think of that episode, Eric?
You know, I agree. It was. I'd say it was maybe my second or third favorite of the batch. Love the style of it, and also too, I think on a bigger scale, I weirdly enough kind of like my what ifs a little more individually wrapped, you know. And I found that sometimes the threads they were trying to grab from one episode to another, I felt like there was so much work in that didn't quite pay off. So I like these episodes that were a little bit more in like their own little corner of the sandbox. My one issue with it is more about we haven't, I felt like, gotten a really great portrayal of Nova yet, the Nova Corps. I think that's one where I am curious if they're going to, because there was always talk of a Nova show, a Nova movie. it feels like they at some point need to really get a little bit more into the weeds on just what made the Nova Corps interesting in the comic. But as an episode, I thought it was really good. I'm glad they got her to come back and do her breathy voice, which she's definitely made that character pop a lot more than when we first were introduced to her. And I just thought
I'm sure Lake Bell would have done it fine.
Yeah. And it had style to spare. I mean, I think there was really beautiful work on it. So it was quite good.
I think the impressive thing, and even for the episode I didn't like last season, the animation is definitely on a level that it's almost like, it didn't have to be that good. You didn't have to spend that much money on it. What did you think, Katie, of the Nova Corps episode with Nebula?
I absolutely loved it. I thought it was a really great opener to this new season. I was like, okay, all right, we're in for a ride. This is going to be a really fun season. And to your point earlier, Brody, I did stop at 3, and I was like, I don't know how much more I can do of this, because I watched 1, 2, 3, and I was like, all right, I got a little exhausted, and then we ended up watching the rest a little bit later. But I will say, this is maybe going to be shooting myself in my foot saying this, but Karen Gillan is so not my favorite actor. Not my favorite companion. Perhaps my least favorite, which is going against almost every Doctor Who fan ever.
So, looking at Katie's list, Bill never happened. But anyway, go on.
I think she is a great person. I feel like she has really good acting style, but it hasn't been showcased as it was showcased in this episode. And I thought this was a perfect fitting. Noir was totally up her street. She's such a flat-voiced character to begin with. I find her kind of just boring.
But did you ever see her show Selfie with John Cho? Maybe that's what's missing. Okay, so you know what? I'm going to say that's probably what would have.
I thought she was fine in Jumanji. I feel like she as a person is wonderful, and I don't want to disparage. I just feel like she hasn't been showcased in the best light. But this episode was like, yes, Queen, take off. Like, what?
Yes, Queen. I was not expecting you to go that way. I'm surprised.
Yeah, no, this is what I mean. This made me fall in love with her as an actor again. Like, I was like, okay, I see. Like, I think she should be doing more animation. Absolutely. I thought this was a really great portrayal, and it was perfect for Nebula to be in a noir.
I mean, she's Scottish. She didn't drop 3 or 4 stones so that she could do animation. Okay. She did it so that she could be on the Jumanji poster. So
you see the short she had to wear for that whole franchise.
I know. Trust me. Yeah, no, that's awesome. But the acting.
All right.
I will say she did well in both of those movies. It's just, I don't know. I often find her flat, and this was just a perfect catalyst for her to show off.
Michael, Shirley, what did you think of this episode?
This was probably my favorite. I think I'd say it was my favorite. Yeah.
And did you come to this episode with an affinity for Nebula, or did that? Because that's not something I've ever heard you say, so that's why I feel like this didn't even, you weren't like prepackaged to like this one.
No, absolutely not. I wasn't prepackaged to like it. I'm not a really big Guardians fan. I like Mantis, but the rest I could kind of.
Yeah, well, I do agree on Mantis. What do you think was so stylistically? We've talked about it. Is there one thing in particular that you were like surprised by? Or just watching it where you're like, I didn't think I was going to like this one, but was there a moment that kind of grabbed you in that one?
I feel like it was the only one that, to me, really felt like what the whole What If comics was about.
Yeah.
It was just...
That's a good point.
Also, the only one that I felt like... I mean, obviously, they put the Nova Corps in there for a reason. I mean, like Eric said, they've been talking about doing a movie. As far as I heard, they were still planning on doing that movie. I don't know if that's the case or not, but it was like they were planting a seed. But it was the only one that I felt really kind of played on other characters that aren't already in the franchise, and I appreciated that.
By the way,
hated how. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Absolutely. I was just trying to bring a comment in from the chat.
I just hated how it just seemed like all of the voice actors that they put together, it was just because they're currently in these movies or they were in the movies. I don't like that they're only dipping out of like pre-made films. I wish they would be a little more adventurous. I felt like we got that with Captain Carter in the first season. I guess maybe with Kahhori or I'm not sure if that's how you say her name, but I mean, well, she wasn't ever in the comics, so that's probably what I liked the least about that.
I think I was talking about how Glenn Close was not in this episode, but Jude Law sure was, so I was like, all right. I mean, there was that year where he was in, like 4 huge movies, and I guess 2023 is not that year. I just wanted to make sure we include this comment from our pal Kame Egan, directed at Katie. Tell us how you really feel about Karen.
I have no doubt she's a wonderful person, so I don't want to disparage an actress.
It goes back to she is Scottish, so slow down. You don't necessarily want to get too carried away there. But,
no, I know, and she could probably take me any day. But still, I don't know. She shined really bright in this episode.
Yeah, no, I think that it was a pleasant surprise. I like her, I like the character, but I don't think I was expecting that one, and it was a great choice for the first episode. As we'll circle back for the second episode, Daniel Drew liked the 80s Avengers episode, which is the one we're about to talk about. Would have liked a bit more of a threat. Or if it had actually been Peter having said yes to Ego and been corrupted by him instead of reluctantly. Yeah, I mean, when Hope lets him out of his cage and then he goes and does good, I'm like, oh, okay, that's not where I thought that was gonna go. He was gonna, I don't know, smush Hope's head and steal her Walkman. I thought we might have gotten something like that, but that's not the way that one went. When I saw the title of that one, I'm like, what if Peter Quill attacked Earth's Mightiest Heroes? I'm like, I don't know. What if I need a nap? I mean, it's hard to say. What did you think of that episode, Michael Shirley? You mentioned that you're not a big Guardians guy, and Peter front and center. Yeah,
I didn't love it.
What about Kurt Russell's animated flowing locks? Because I found those to be really distracting, actually.
Wasn't paying attention to him.
Oh my! How can you not pay attention to Snake Plissken if he's on your tail? Anyway, I'm sorry. What'd you say, Eric?
Yeah, I mean, not even his hair. It just feels like that doesn't seem on brand.
I know. Yeah, that's probably one of my least favorite episodes.
Did you like sort of seeing the concept of putting the Avengers together in a different timeline? So you do get a different combination. We got Hank Pym, we got Bill Foster, and we've got Teenage Hope, I suppose, is basically what's happening there. And
because that's what we need, Evangeline Lilly.
Well, I mean, she was not there. Yeah,
the Aaron Rodgers of Marvel.
I know, right?
Her character still had a Band-Aid from getting vaxxed.
Yeah.
But in that episode, it featured Wendy Lawson, who was not voiced by Annette Bening. There was a short stretch where I'm like, who the hell is this? And I'm like, oh my God, right. It's like a big part of that Captain Marvel movie. Sorry, I forgot. And then it was like Goose was there. And I'm like, all right, I'm putting it all back together now. What did you think of that episode, Katie? The Peter Quill.
I loved it. I thought it was a really good one. I love that Peter finally got to be as powerful as he always wants to be.
Yeah.
A little bit younger. I liked seeing a different formation of the Avengers start up. This, again, and we've mentioned this before, but this feels like What If is supposed to be. It's, an alternate universe. It's an alternate Heroes of Earth type of situation. I love seeing, Peggy. I love seeing all the different characters and seeing like that branch of the universe off of all these heroes, and Hank Pym was great. Yeah.
Yeah, Hank Pym had more to do in the 26 minutes of this episode than in all of Quantumania. So I felt it was a much better use of Michael Douglas's time to be in this. And yeah, I think it's fun to kind of take a look for, you know, the established history, some of these characters that we do have, like him and Bill Foster and all that. So yeah, I did find this one to be fun. The idea that Peter Quill was still Peter Quill inside does work. I just thought, yeah, he was going to crush the earth is basically where I thought this was going.
You thought this was going way darker than it did.
Yeah. And honestly, I felt like season 1 was darker than this season. It had a little bit more of that stuff. This one was a lot more hopeful. And I don't know. I don't want to get all Michael Shirley on you, but who needs rainbows and sunshine, you know?
I think it's a pendulum swing, you know?
Yeah. Right, exactly. What did you think of this episode, Eric?
You very similar thing. It to me, it felt more like the actual kind of what if model, so to speak, of like, okay, this is its own thing. You know, you change one or two little moments, and we get our butterfly effect. And I really enjoyed this. I liked it. I'm also admittedly a sucker for things like Firestarter. You know, I like little creepy kids. I like kids who have powers they can't control. That sounded weird. The second I said it, I realized.
As soon as you said it,
as soon as I said it, I'm like, yeah.
Are you on Epstein's list?
Well, it's another list.
He's on Epstein's standby list. So if perhaps,
is it Angie's list?
If a few people didn't show up, Eric might have been able to go.
Right.
But that all being said, before the police come and knock down my door, you know, I think the idea of them all fighting against a young Peter was great. I think just like in real life, Evangeline Lilly is a liability. I think that she would just free him, and I get it, and I you know, they bonded, and I got that, but it was kind of like, I always thought she was a little bit of even when she was young, a little bit of a sharper kid than that. But it worked. And I think it was a really nice, I like that mix of characters they put together as well. I think that would be kind of a fun alternate Avengers to have pop up again somewhere. It was a really good mix of voices and personalities. So that was a good episode. Maybe not my favorite, but a solid double.
All right. Hey, you know, sometimes, especially if it's extra innings and you start with a man on second, sometimes all you need is a double. So that's fine. Mr. Brody, what did you think of this Peter Quill episode?
Well, I'll go ahead and agree with everyone. It's definitely a what if episode. It fit the mold of what if.
Yep.
I liked seeing that group of Avengers only because, you know, in the Avengers, Hank Pym was part of that group. And in the movies, they made him old. They made him from the 70s and 60s. So it was nice to see him with the Avengers, you know, because he should have been. So that part I liked. I thought the kid should have destroyed the universe. I really think there should have been some real ramifications from the episode. The fact that he almost beat them up and then he didn't, and then he turned on his father. It was all cutesy, like a Saturday morning cartoon. I needed the planet to explode.
Yeah.
I need,
you know what?
Certainly do what I wanted to do.
Yeah. Now that you say that, I did get some cartoon all-stars to the rescue vibes from this.
Spider-Man is amazing.
What is lacking in y'all's life that you need more dark things?
No, I just wanted one. I just felt like one of these episodes.
They wouldn't be seen.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I didn't want Strange Supreme to win. I just wanted the kid to blow up the world.
Right, exactly. And by the way, Hank Pym absolutely would have turned to Hope and be like, I just want you to know this is all your fault.
And then they explode to dust.
Yeah, right. And Janet's in the quantum realm the whole time and doesn't
figured
that any of that. Kemi Egan has a good note. Jeffrey Wright as the Watcher seemed a lot more humorous. He had more moments. You know, he had some moments in season 1, but especially bantering with Peggy Carter and. Anybody who maybe skipped the I Am Groot season 2 shorts, there is one that is narrated by the Watcher Jeffrey Wright providing the voice. And if you like the idea of the Watcher in a funny situation, that would actually be it. I think it was a nice usage of the character. I thought it was interesting to see the Watcher get. I don't know. I feel like for as uninvolved as he's supposed to be, he was a little too involved. It's I was just like, you're supposed to just watch. The rule is no touching, just watch. And
appropriate after this.
Yeah, and he keeps saying to Peggy, he's like, "Are you ready for me to take you home?" Like, no, you shouldn't take her. You shouldn't be able to take her home. You're the Watcher, not the help out of a jammer. So, Daniel Drew, would we rather all of these be standalone stories instead of connecting stories? Yeah, I think if there was one moment that connected two episodes because, they were in the writer's room and they were, putting all the time in and they're like, you know what, this really works to connect these, that would have been fine. And honestly, like the season 1 episode where he went and plucked characters out from earlier in the season, it worked enough. And I actually thought that's what the 1602 episode was when I saw, as we were getting closer to it, I thought that's what it was going to be. But yeah, I'd like them to be a little bit less involved, continuation. I mean, great for Haley Otwell because she was in a lot more of these than I expected. So I think
wanted.
Right.
She's
Exactly.
kind of like their character.
Yeah. They should just call it What If Peggy Carter Did Something Different.
Definitely this season. I like seeing Peggy again, but it was also like, all right, we're doing this a lot now.
It's a lot. Yeah.
I went and watched Multiverse of Madness just to watch her get cut in half again. Spoiler. I needed it.
Well, yeah, I just like to watch John Krasinski's arms watch him get
spaghetti arms.
Exactly.
Tossed into a black hole.
Generally speaking, well, you know what? I never want to not include salient points from Daniel Drew. That has always been Watu's problem. The Watcher is that he, of all of them, he does tend to get the most involved. But it was always just as reading comics, you're like, oh, what is it? I mean, you open the cover from Uncanny X-Men 137 and like, oh my God, the Watcher's just standing there watching. I'm like, I think something important's going to happen, isn't it? So some of you have been a little bit outspoken about the 3rd episode, the What If Happy Hogan Saved Christmas. And I would say it's the hokiest of all of them. But again, as I've said, as a John McClane apologist, I even saw Die Hard 5 in the theater. All right, so that'll tell you something.
Oh.
But in any case, I think that I don't know. It was just fun and hokey in a way that I feel like seasonal content, Christmas content should be. It's probably more appreciated because of its self-awareness. I thought Kat Dennings had some good lines in it, and whenever they include her in any of this stuff, I think that's usually the reason why. But yeah, I didn't need Happy to be a Hulk at any point, and especially like, oh, gradual Hulk. Oh, he's got a Hulk leg first. Okay, I mean, I guess that can work. David, was there anything you liked about the episode?
Well, I did refer to it when it was over as WTF. Because I hated it that much.
What the if?
Yeah. What the if? Yeah. Thanks, Katie.
Sorry, that's just too good.
I love how it had inspired Cam Egan because she watched Die Hard last night after watching that episode.
See, we all run to other movies to get our fill. Me, it was Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah, right, exactly.
I thought the voice acting was fine, the animation was fine. I liked the Die Hard stuff. He crawled through the vents. The whole time I'm thinking, this is not a Christmas cartoon. I'm willing to have that debate.
You can have that debate, but it is the episode that
he saved Christmas
on Christmas Eve. It streamed on Christmas Eve. Yeah.
Yeah. So I hated it. It's not a What If episode. It's more like, oh, we'll just take a guy and have him do it. It didn't belong. It should have been
maybe it was the backdoor pilot to the Happy Hogan saves various universes ongoing.
I would have
series.
watched
Eric,
the backdoor pilot, but this is
Eric
not-
Connor. What do you think of
The dogs also have an opinion. I enjoyed Hulk Hogan. I think 1602
brother?
to me. Let me tell you something, brother. Me and these 24-inch pythons. The 1602. That to me was maybe the wrong side of Goofy, where it got kind of cloying and annoying. This one
Goofy's
for me,
the word of the day.
It is.
cloying.
Katie's used
Oh,
it.
gosh.
Eric's used it. I've used it.
Yeah, and the day ain't over. It's Katie's turn next. But it was. I thought it was funny. David's totally right. It's not a what if episode, but it is almost like, I don't know, the part of the Marvel universe that gave us Peter Porker, the Spectacular Spider-Ham. I mean, that's okay. I didn't mind it being a lark. I didn't mind it being like a Mad Magazine, like extended piece, or maybe maybe not quite a Saturday Live sketch, but maybe Fridays, or that level of humor.
Fridays.
So the great Michael Richards is what you're
Battle Boy.
Yeah. So I didn't mind as much. It was instantly forgettable, but while watching it was fun.
Yeah, I didn't get the Werner stuff, the Werner character, where they're just like, it's this like detached. Yeah, I mean, I got that, and I was just like, all right, you're really going for it. Well, Katie, as someone who bonded with her spouse over Die Hard and was overjoyed last month when the greatest Christmas movie of our lifetime, Die Hard, was back in theaters. You got to see it in theater for the first time.
I did.
How did you feel about this episode? And depending on what you say, I might send you a secret link to the episode of Booker starring Richard Grieco that is a knockoff of Die Hard.
Please do. When I saw the title of this, I was like, okay, we're going for a Die Hard. I was excited. I was very excited. You told us to come with hard opinions, and I put the hardest of meh.
So meh hard.
I went so meh hard.
Nah, Queen.
I mean, meh. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I was very excited. I think the thing that bugged me the most was that Happy turned into a super Hulk. I was like, can we? Like, if you're gonna do the Die Hard, I love that Darcy was like, "What is it, Con Air?" I thought that was
nice. I did
hysterical.
like that.
Like, I thought there were really great moments in this episode, but like overall, I was just like, why couldn't he have just been a human that saved Avengers Tower? Because the Avengers aren't there, so like, why do we need a superhero to do this? The Die Hard stuff, the shout outs were great. They were fun, but it was just kind of like, okay, well, that happened.
By the way, they name checked him, as I mentioned, but a cameo from Reginald Vell Johnson would have been much appreciated.
Yeah,
and,
and probably
maybe
affordable.
his rate is too high. What's that, Eric?
I think isn't he doing cameos? Like, I feel like we could get him.
You could totally get him. I mean, they're not doing.
I'm sorry. Hold on. You're saying that Reginald Vell Johnson does cameos?
I thought he did. I'll have to do my homework.
He went to order one. He went to go get one.
All right. Should be delivered by the end of the show.
Oh my God, how amazing would that be?
Reginald Vell Johnson and
came back and he only got a Reggie Wayne.
It's the Christmas episode, so
we're waiting for Christian, and maybe he'll never come back.
Wait, was I not? Am I not here?
You're
now you're here.
I was there. Yeah,
he was.
I saw myself. I was gone, but I milked the joke, but for like 10 seconds. So
True.
That's all right. Well, if we're talking about the Christmas episode, we of course require the opinion of our resident Grinch. What did you think of this episode, Michael Shirley?
It was okay. I didn't really like the whole Hulk thing. That was a little like.
That seems to be the consistent note, is the Hulk aspect of it. Sure.
Darcy's not on my top list either, so I kind of found her irritating.
You always liked the blonde on Two Broke Girls, right? You were a Beth Bears guy.
I don't watch that goofy show.
Right.
Way to bring it back.
That's a nice callback. Very nice callback.
His mom is on it.
It's like living in LA. I don't want to watch that. Living in LA.
You're right, Stifler's mom. No, they live in New York. What are you talking about?
What?
Two Broke Girls, they work
live
in
in
like
Queens,
a diner
right?
in Queens.
Yeah.
Oh, they fooled me.
Yeah. And it's homophobic, it's sexist, it's racist, it's everything that sitcoms in the early 2000s were supposed to be.
It's the Michael Shirley special.
Did you take anything out of it that was fun, Michael? I feel like I'm talking to you about Loki right now.
Yeah.
Like,
What's it like?
Did we have picked your scene that you liked from that one?
I really didn't like this whole season, honestly. I liked last season a lot better than this. And I liked that okay. So like it's kind of low energy over here. Gosh, I guess I liked when it was over.
Now it really is. That really is like talking to you about Loki. Well, I feel like, and I don't know that we've spent much time talking about the Grandmaster, the character played by Jeff Goldblum.
No.
I feel like, so I like him and I think he's funny, but there's a quality to that character. And it's like, I was just recently talking about The Fifth Element, that when Chris Tucker walks on screen, I'm like, I think I'm out of this movie. I think I cannot. And I think some people feel that way about the Grandmaster. Was that when you saw, you're like, oh man, would it have been better if they didn't get Jeff Goldblum? Because I think that's one of the delights of the episode, is actually getting him. But would you have rather not had any focus on the Grandmaster? And did that ruin
Jeff
your
Goldblum.
Grandmaster plan for watching the season?
I don't like Jeff Goldblum. He's just very like kind of fumbly and derpy and just like
Yeah.
And the Fly.
That is what the sides said for the Big Chill when they were casting. We want fumbly and derpy. He realized he could do that.
Luckily, Lake Bell couldn't pull off derpy. So
you know what? We've never seen her try to do the Grandmaster.
Fair.
So let's give her a chance in season 3. Well, if feel free to chime in as we talk about this episode. If you disliked it that much, I think we got Josh Brolin as Thanos in that episode, which that was one of those like
incredible.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And I think that Taika Waititi probably doesn't want anyone else to ever voice Korg.
You can't deliver it like Taika can. Like no one can do Korg.
Yeah, well, they used to say no one could do the voices of Statler and Waldorf, though. So eventually you can find somebody if you need to. But I know what you're saying. I found this one to definitely be fun. I know that our buddy Craig Robinson liked it. I know that Tony is obviously not Robert Downey Jr. The actor who they have as Tony, Mick Wingert, I think it's a good choice to let's just do a Robert Downey Jr. impression. Don't give us another voice actor's interpretation of what they think he should sound like. It's like, because Tony's shown up on some animated Spider-Man shows, and it's always like, we're gonna do a knockoff of Robert Downey Jr. to keep the character consistent. So it's clearly not him, but I'm like, all right, it's like you can kind of imagine what it would sound like if it actually was him. We had Tessa Thompson in that episode as Valkyrie. So I thought that was fun, and not Zoe Saldana as Gamora, an actress named Cynthia McWilliams, who I actually thought was Shirley on Laverne and Shirley. So I'm just, all mixed up as I look at my timelines.
I thought that just when you said her name.
That's a joke for me, Brody, and Eric, and no one watching.
I don't like how they have the mix of actual voice actors and non-voice actors. I don't like it at all.
I don't think that's by choice. I think they're excited they're excited that they get people, and then they're like, all right, well, we're not going to not put Tony in this episode. Although they did make sure that Michael B. Jordan's character never spoke because they didn't have him. So they were like, oh, let's just not have him talk. And there were episodes where other characters, like there's an episode where we see Thanos and he doesn't talk, but he does talk in this one. What did you think of this episode, Katie? If Iron Man crashed into the Grand Master?
I thought it was good. It wasn't like my top one. Like it's probably like one of those that I watch, say cool, and then move on and probably never rewatch again. I did like that we had a Korg team up with Iron Man, and I love that.
That's fair.
I thought Jeff Goldblum just peed all over this role. Like, so it was fun to see.
Is that in a good way?
Yeah,
Marking
yeah,
his
that's
territory.
marking his territory.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Like no one can be as insane as he is. I thought it was fun. I think this is probably the best fit for Valkyrie to rule over. Like this world was like, I thought, like perfect for her more than New Asgard. So I thought this kind of gave way towards like an interesting path that, I mean, that felt more fitting for Valkyrie, honestly.
Yeah, no, I think that it's almost like, oh, did she need to be in this? And then sort of the way it ends, you're like, okay, yeah, I think that actually does work for her. Mr. Brody, what did you think of this episode?
Well, I didn't think Jeff Goldblum was very good as Jeff Goldblum.
Really?
He wasn't as grandmasterish as he was in the movies. There were times it sounded like Jeff Goldblum, but I thought someone else was doing the character.
I know what you're talking about. I felt the same way.
Interesting.
Yeah, he didn't have the asides, the the whole thing he does where he didn't do enough of that, as if he phoned it in, is what I'm saying. It seemed like he read the words on the page, and he didn't really do the that's what I'm saying.
Our visual audience is about to see the very Grandmaster moment where he's driving and he gets distracted by the statue of himself and he winks at it. I thought that was a very Grandmaster, also a very Jeff Goldblum moment. But I do know what you're saying. That
I thought he phoned it in. I love Korg. You can put Korg. Yeah. Korg could be next season's Captain Carter, and I'd be fine. Put him in every episode, and he can crumble. It's fine.
They're doing those Groot shorts. Where's the Korg shorts?
I would like the Korg shorts.
Yeah, I would absolutely be all in on that.
I liked the Tony Stark aspect. It seemed like a Ragnarok sequel. I just thought the car racing was like Wacky Racers, and the
suit was cool, but it was like
the suit. But then he jumped in, he made it a car. It was a Transformers, and it was just very young feeling. And I know that it's Disney, it's Marvel. I know we're not 12, but it just seemed very goofy. There it is again.
Yeah.
So it was an enjoyable episode. I didn't turn it off. It wasn't episode 3. I just felt what made that Goldblum character great wasn't there, and the car racing was dopey. And Valkyrie, I didn't even realize it was Valkyrie until somebody said she was Valkyrie. Like she didn't look it, she didn't act it.
Oh wow!
Like Valkyrie to me is like on a Pegasus with armor and braids, and she was just like, I thought it was just some girl on the planet. And then I was like, oh yeah, it's Valkyrie. I get it now. And so I didn't feel like that character was great until the end when she sort of stood up for herself and she becomes, I guess, the ruler of the planet. But it was fine. I give it a 6.
A 6. All right. Yeah. Well, obviously when they're putting these seasons together, there's something about the placement of episode 3 that they decide that that's going to be the most divisive spot. Season 1, I hated episode 3, and I think way more than anyone else on the planet. But and then for you, episode 3, which I know is a number of people's least favorite. What did you think of this episode, Eric Connor?
Yeah, you were saying Wacky Racers. I was feeling Phantom Menace. I mean, this was pod racing, and it just. It almost like just turned too much into the really, really wacky sides of Thor Ragnarok. Like in some ways, like Taika Waititi's like his I always call him by the wrong name. It's okay.
Tiki Watoto. Yes.
Wacky titties.
His instincts for like comedy run the whole gamut, and I love the sort of Mr. Bean side of him. He's all into very sort of broad sticky comedy, which is great, but I think it was so much of it. And I think part of the issue with the Grandmaster here was it was shtick on top of shtick on top of shtick without the menace, and without the sense that this is a guy who actually could kill some people, who has people kill each other for sport. And I know we see some of that, but it doesn't have quite the impact that it did even in Thor Ragnarok. So yeah, this one, it was fine. I found myself, again, it just felt young. It was trying a little too hard. It was more goofy than I thought it needed to be. It was great seeing Valkyrie again, goofy. It was, that's a character they have yet to really unleash in the way they could. So, her getting her screen time was great, or her voice time, whatever you'd call it. But in the end of
the
it,
character was on screen, but I know what you're saying. Yeah,
a lot of sound and fury signifying not too much.
Well, Eric will be the only one, I think, to recognize the fact that we did have a question from a celebrity visitor to the chat,
Yes,
the
we
great
did.
Kinky Loco, wanting to know where the super chat button is. And Kinky Loco, these channels are not monetized in that way. But if you want me to put up my Venmo, I'll tell you where you can send me 10 lodge. But we can do that another time. Kinky Loco, great to see you there.
Your name, Kinky Loco.
Yeah, exactly. We if we look in the mirror and we say Kinky Loco's name 20 times, he will show up on this episode. Somebody in the chat, I was looking for it and I was so happy to find Kinky Loco. Somebody mentioned kind of like a what if Hanna-Barbera. There was something that I can't find it. Yeah, Cam Egan said something about it, and I did love those team up shows that Hanna-Barbera would do, like the year of the Olympics were in the U.S. They did Laugh Olympics and Wacky Races, and it was always like, I don't know who's faster, Jabberjaw or Scrappy Doo. Let's find out.
Yeah, it was the Battle of the Network cartoon stars. That's what they did. Yeah.
Exactly. Well, Eric, you went last on that one, so let's circle back with what if Captain Carter fought the Hydra Stomper, episode 5.
So we're sneaking it. This was one that I think it was good, but it just felt really familiar. I mean, it just seems like they're just taking the Winter Soldier, Captain America dynamic and just putting kind of like a new hat on it. Though the voice acting is really strong. I think it is, such a treat to have these performers and give them a little bit more stage in which to play with these characters. But I found that it just, the connection to other episodes, the sort of retreading of themes and plot, and this, not to spoil my own take for the last episode, but feels like he is, Sorcerer Supreme, still trying to get over his girl. I found that this is where the sort of rehashing of other plots and themes, it's diminishing returns as well played as it is. It just it lacked from that original spark that we might have seen last season in these similar episodes.
It was more House Party 2 than House Party 1. Is that what you're getting at?
Or more House Party 3. Well, not quite House Party 3.
No, all right. Settle down.
Nah. Nothing's
It's not Friday after next.
It's not Electric Boogaloo.
It's not Next Karate Kid.
To your point, the voice acting, it is noteworthy that Rachel Weisz actually does voice Melina in Melina. I don't know. Melania.
Nope.
Right?
Nope.
No one knows where she is.
Yeah. That voices, that she showed up in this episode. I thought that was fun. For Frank Grillo to have said no, would have really raised some flags. But we did get a few Sebastian Stan this season. So I thought that, all that stuff was fun and nice to get Samuel Jackson, enjoying him so much more in his little cameos in this series than Secret Invasion, where he was essentially the star, But I think that this was one of those ones where I'm like, oh, it's okay. But it also like invokes multiple things from the Black Widow movie, which it wasn't like everybody was like, oh, there's so much more to unpack from that Black Widow movie. Let's revisit those characters. Let's bring the Red Room in and all of that. What did you think of this episode, David Brody?
Again, it was one of those, okay, she fought the Hydra Stomper. Okay. Let her fight Captain America and get her ass kicked. Like, that's what I want to see. The fact that she fought her boyfriend and he doesn't know who he is. It's not who you are. It's such a cliche already. The whole person who's evil and you tell them they're not who they are and this is not what you want to do. And yes, it is. Yes, it is. And he should have punched her immediately. So The Black Widow part of it
So-
was, I don't know why that was
So
there. And
the fight that you want to see is between Steve Rogers and Peggy Carter. So
yes, but the
is
super
what you're
soldier Steve
saying-
Rogers.
what you're saying is, do you want to make America great again? Is that what you're saying? Or am I mishearing
No,
it?
no, no.
Okay.
Nope.
Look, it's just a question. I thought I was hearing something.
I
that
make
okay,
Captain
go ahead.
America great again
Okay,
is
Captain-
fine.
We should make Captain America great again. All right.
Yes.
I do see. Michael, I
This
want to
is
know what
getting dark. I'm uncomfortable now.
Well, good. That's and we've only got 90 more minutes here on the show. No,
Oh,
Michael.
no.
Michael, what did you think of this episode, the Hydra Stomper, which the term "meh" was applied earlier, and I think that the meh was like bronzed and mounted on a wall, just like this is really what it was. But maybe you found something in here that I missed. What did you think of Peggy taking on the Hydra Stomper?
It was all right. Like, I don't know. I didn't really. I didn't think it was that great. It's just too similar to the actual story, and there's not really any. I don't know. There's not really anything that I felt like Captain America couldn't do that she did.
I guess it's, I don't know, and again, it also acts to sort of tie into the upcoming episode. It seems like that was a big part of it. Hey, remember Peggy? I'm like, we saw plenty of her. It's fine. We didn't need this one. I as we're talking about it, I like this one less than 1602. This is my least favorite. This is definitely my least favorite because it's as I was saying, they could have not done this episode. And I love Haley Atwell, but she's in that one too. So
I feel like 9 is kind of a weird number too for shows.
Well, isn't one of these the one we just talked about? That one's left over from season 1, right? That's one that they didn't get to finish in time. Yeah, I believe that's why there's 9. There's one that's left over from last year.
Well, they also bumped one from this season, the Red Guardian episode. That's why it's already out. You can see a trailer for it because the Red Guardian's in the opening montage with the Marvel logo. He's in it, but there's no episode of the Red Guardian, so I assume they bumped that one.
Oh, okay. Well, no, that would actually make sense. All right. Well, it shows it. What do you think of this episode, Katie Carter?
Look, I love Peggy Carter. This episode was a total miss for me. It was just like, I think like everybody has said, it's like if it didn't happen, okay. It feels like we're treading the same tracks. We're going down the same path. Like it just, I mean, everything that everyone said was exactly how I felt about this episode, so I don't want to even repeat it.
That's fine. I agree. As a
was
great man once said, I don't know, Boff, it seems like a bit of a stumble. This one definitely was a bit of a stumble, and it's like
1% of your audience got that.
Pinky Loco's laughing his ass off right now.
Oh, yeah, no,
Pinky Loco loved that. Yeah. Go ahead and finish your thought, Katie. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. I thought it was like an interesting like posing of what if, but it was like the execution was like, all right, okay.
Yeah. Well, again, it's the worst what if episodes. Don't ask the question, what if? They ask the question.
Well, here's the thing.
Waste all the money on this.
We open with like, I don't usually revisit, these like episodes or whatever. And I was like, okay, so you have something interesting? Yeah. And I was like, okay, but then why did we revisit it?
Yeah, and Meatloaf didn't make sequels except for Bat Out of Hell 2 and Bat Out of Hell 3. So yeah, it's like I don't usually do sequels, but anytime anyone says that, it's about to kick off a sequel. Well, I wanted to circle back towards Katie on this episode because I want to get us over to episode 6. What if Kahhori reshaped the world, Katie?
I fucking loved this. I went hard. I was just like, oh, this is so great. I would love a team up with Carol Danvers. I literally wrote on my notes, yes, no notes, best episode. Give me a team up with Carol Danvers. I thought this was fantastic. I love that it was in an original, it was in the Mohawk language, and that they committed to that. And that they tore up some freaking boats, Carol Danvers style, just with this like cool new ability. And it was basically, what if Wakanda was in Native America? And I thought that was such an interesting concept that like we also got a brand new character who I hope we see all across the universes, like the cinematic universe, you know, even in the like anime. Bring her back when we do get her again, which I love. I need more of this character. I think Kahhori is really interesting, really fun. I love that we also have the Spanish mythos of like the Fountain of Youth. Yeah. What a great thing. Like, did they end up in a planet? Like, is it a pocket universe? Well, I don't know.
No, and it tells us watching this episode is Ponce de Leon kind of a dick, you know. I think that's really what the takeaway should be.
Great.
You know? Yeah. No, I did find this to be a lot of fun. I had been told from somebody who had finished the season that there's an episode with a new character that they really liked. So I kind of was like, all right, I think I can tell which one that is. But I did think the character was it was very interesting because it's a background we don't usually get in terms of native characters. Daniel Moonstar from New Mutants, Mirage, is one of a short list. Yes, there's Thunderbird from the all new, all different X-Men, but he lasted 2.5 issues. So, and I know his brother was in X-Force. I'm just
wait a minute. There's 2 characters of native descent in Alpha Flight. Shaman and his daughter or niece, I forget their relationship.
Talisman, yeah, that's his daughter.
Talisman.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah,
I was ready for that.
I'm talking about Native Americans, not Native Canadians, David. All right,
First Nationers.
I said natives.
First Nation peoples. Yes.
By the way,
no, you're absolutely right. There's not, but to that extent, we just sort of reached for like 4 of them. You know, so we can't even do a Mount Rushmore of them, which ironically would be on that native land in South Dakota, so we shouldn't build
all of this to say we need more Native American superheroes. I thought it was so cool. I would love to see even more cultures getting their own superheroes to just like wave the banner.
Where's Sabra? Where's Sabra from Secret Wars, the Jewish superhero?
She was supposed to be in the new Captain America, but I don't know where that stands currently. Yeah.
Played by
Sabra was supposed to be
terrific.
What is that movie called? Is it called New World Order, or am I?
Well, I think if you're gonna have Sabra, you got to change that title. It's a little bit.
Great point. Yeah.
By the way, speaking of first, what is it? First Worlders?
First Nations.
First Nations.
First Worlders.
The character Atarax, the leader of the tribe.
Mm-hmm.
That's my friend Jeremy, who voiced the character.
Oh, cool! And
he's been teasing working for Marvel for like 6 months. Well, he teased something big, and then he teased Marvel a little bit, and so it's actually him. So he didn't speak in the finale. He was one of those characters that you saw, but he didn't say anything. But I did tweet him, and I copied him to the tweet about this episode. So what we're doing now. So hopefully he's watching.
I hope he's watching. Nicely done. That must be fun to be a part of, of any episode of this. But I agree. I did enjoy the adventure, and I didn't mind reading. Is really what I'm trying to say. It was okay that I had to read, but let's just say I might have been happier the next time we saw her when I didn't have to read. But I think for this story, it only works if we have to read it.
Yes. And by the way, my friend Jeremy is a First Nationer, as is the rest of the cast.
Killer. Oh, that's awesome.
Excellent. Well, I'm glad to hear that. So what did you think of this story, David Brody?
I liked it. I didn't like the title because I didn't know the character. So putting the character's name in the title didn't make sense to me. So from an analytical standpoint, I didn't enjoy that. But as far as the episode, I thought she was great. I enjoyed reading. I enjoyed the way they kept their culture and used the power. Again, like Wakanda, there was obviously a Wakanda vibe there to it. But I liked the way that she stood up for the principles or for people that perhaps that the people with the power had forgotten the culture that they had left behind when they went into the lake rather, and they, formed this new community. Overall, I liked it. I'm concerned about making too many super powerful superheroes. Like I felt she might be, based on the finale we'll talk about later, I feel like she went from doesn't exist in the Marvel universe to Captain Marvel level power.
Yeah.
A little too far. Yeah, look at you. Look.
I love it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. You guys get Superman. We can get Kahhori and Captain Marvel. Like, I love no.
Oh, what? Supergirl isn't good enough. Oh, wait. Now that
Super
I say it out loud,
Dog, right? And all the cousins.
What about Wendy and Marvin, the interns from the Super Friends? I mean, you guys.
What about
what
about Jaina, the girl from the Wonder Twins, from the later incarnation of Super Friends? And I'm sorry, go ahead.
The one we all know.
Right.
You know what? You had the Wonder Twins because all he could do was form water. So
look, I'm a woman on the internet, so I've heard
You're
the
what?
gamut on like the opinions of this. But I love having turn your camera on. I love having an OP woman. Like
Sure.
I like the fact that like they were trying to enslave her people, and it's I love that it's also a little bit different than Wakanda, and that it's not just one responsibility bestowed upon one leader. It's a communal power. And I find that so cool because it's not just about like saving the planet or I'm the hero. It's like we're all the hero. We all have this power. We all can work together and just blow through these freaking ships. I fucking loved it because the other thing is that like she got hit with a cannon and took her out. And I was like, all right, this is cool. But then when we start to see those zipping through the woods, oh, beautiful, so eerie, so cool. And I'm like, yes, let them be overpowered, please.
Well,
after all of the history they've gone through, let that be the cool thing.
The background of the character, yes, absolutely empower them. I'm worried about Secret Invasion, where what's her face's daughter became like the most powerful being on the planet.
Yeah.
And hopefully we'll never see her again. I'm hoping that was like another reality.
Yeah, that will slide into the what if canon, all of Secret Invasion.
What if
the Marvels basically the Marvels basically indicated that had never happened. You know, because there's a few times where it's like, shouldn't Nick be like referencing? Nah, probably not. Well, speaking of just massive representation, and the term Yas Queen was applied earlier. Eric Connor, what did you think of this episode?
Well, I'm glad that as an intro, I think just nailed everything about me. So thank you.
I believe so. Yes.
I'm holding up a prop, Infinitum, which we read for the Geekscape book club.
Correct.
And what you were bringing up before, Katie, about this idea of this episode. It's more than a Marvel piece. It's more than a what if, because it really is. It's representation, but in a way that I thought it was so interesting how they kind of connected with the folklore, which is like what Afrofuturism does. It's like the ultimate what if. What if I don't know, a whole bunch of Europeans didn't come to this country, and what would have happened? What would life have been? And I think like it's a powerful question. It's a dramatic one, and I think I had heard about this episode before I watched it because this is the one getting the most buzz by far on Instagram, Twitter, everywhere, even MySpace, and you can see why, because it is.
This is Tom's favorite episode
by far. This is
the theme song as
yes. And she is a new character that they did such a terrific introduction of. And I agree, Brody. Yeah, the title is kind of like a little verkackt because it's kind of like, who is she? Like, we don't know this woman.
I'm sorry. Can you translate that into Goyim?
No, I will not. I will not. No, I'm going to let it lie. You all do your homework.
All right.
If you want to know,
let me get my Jackie Mason. Let me get my Jackie Mason to English dictionary.
Well,
if you can't translate verkakta, what the hell's with you? You're verkakta. You stupid ant that eats you for breakfast.
Here we go. He used it in a perfect sentence, so now you all know.
Yeah, that's true.
And it helps when you have a New York accent to really sell it.
It also helps that the word it references is in the letters of verkakta.
Yep.
So I thought this episode was really good, and it's one that it was tricky for me because I kind of stayed off I avoided reading about this as much as I possibly could before seeing it because I knew I wasn't going to be able to watch it until closer to today. And so this one already had hype, which I was like, oh, but I thought it really lived up to it. And I think the fact is, I thought she was a character. Like I started doing homework on like, wait, was she in?
You're not the first person to say that.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And I think they have definitely a real triumph of this season is her. And the idea that they could now plug her into any number of Marvel properties. And I think people will be actually genuinely excited to see her. So, no, I think they really pulled off a neat trick with this one. And I think it was an important one. You know, I know people throw around the word woke, not this crowd, but like all over, you know, in a way that's so nasty and negative. But this is exactly why we have reflexivity, diversity, you know, is because there's so many stories out there that haven't been touched. So I think I hope we see more of her. I do like how they used her in that last episode. And so maybe we do get a little bit more of her, and that would be welcome.
Eric, what have I told you about spending so much time in those alt-right Reddits? You know, that's where you're going to see.
Told me I should do more of it, right?
Okay, yeah, but just for the sake of, just for a goof, I thought you were coming on to criticize the woke mind virus. So I'm glad to not hear that. Shout out to Devery Jacobs is the actress who provided the voice. She was in Reservation Dogs and also some season of American Gods. I have to admit I had never seen anything she was in, but I think the voice acting I found to be good. Michael, you established earlier that this was a goofy episode. What were there redeeming qualities other than the end credits? You've used that once this episode. You do not get to say it again.
I guess it was kind of amusing when she like shows up in Spain and like gives that queen what for.
Yeah, I mean, look, all I know about Queen Isabella is that bitch had it coming.
She was like, no queen.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I think that's a perfect way to put a button on that one. Michael, what if Hela found the 10 rings? And as we stressed, Kate Blanchett returning as Hela, shockingly, I have to say. But welcome. I think it was fun the couple of times we got to hear. And I'm sorry, anytime you put Idris Elba on my TV, I take notice. What did you think of this episode, Michael?
I guess not as much as you did. It was okay. I just don't really have super strong feelings about any of these. I didn't feel like anyone was really needing to have the villain from Shang-Chi and the Ten Rings like back again. I didn't really see why they bring her back for this. It didn't. I don't know. It really just. I was just kind of like, why did I just watch this? Why did they make us watch this?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. You let me know when you watch something that you didn't feel that way, and I don't even mean Marvel. You know, it just seems like ever
pattern. What?
You know, ever.
They make us watch this. I like that sentiment quite a bit.
Yeah.
Every time they air a new episode of The Connors, I know that's exactly what you say.
Man, I haven't watched that show in a long time.
Sometimes we just poke the bear because we think it would be fun. Katie, what did you think about Hela finding the 10 rings?
I thought this was great. I have never seen Kate Blanchett in like a funny role, so like to hear her do it was
that is an excellent point. Yes,
you know, like I've never seen her do comedy, and I want more of it now, especially because of this. I'm still kind of flabbergasted that she joined on the voice cast. I was like, all right, go ahead. I thought it was a really cool arc to see, and especially with. It's essentially just instead of Thor's story, it's Hela's story. And to see her kind of go through that like anti-villain journey that Thor like never went for, but like Loki kind of did. To see that side of the family rebirth into something a little bit more honorable and cool and worthy of her own helm, which was also
That was the most surprising, I
Yeah.
think, end result of these was
Yeah.
I was just like, oh, I figure she's just gonna, crush Odin and, rule over Asgard and destroy everything else. And
Yeah.
instead they went a different way. And I'm like, you know what? Tip of the hat. Didn't see that coming. And yeah, I mean, mostly this one, it's sort of it's fun. But I do agree, it is definitely on the the magnet tiles that make up this show. It's like, oh, well, hell is over here, and you slide it over to the 10 ring. No one needed it. 100% I agree on that point that Michael made. But I did have some fun with it. Mr. Brody, what did you think of this episode?
I'll start off with the magnet reference you made. It made no sense to me like when Thor was sent down to Earth, he fought the Iron Robot with no powers.
Yeah.
Right. He didn't find 10 rings. He didn't find Doctor Strange's cape. He was basically Dr. Blake, and he earned his hammer back. I thought the ending was good. I liked that she, changed who she was. I just don't know how much weed was smoked when somebody said, "Why don't we take the 10 rings, dude? Because we're never making a sequel to Shang-Chi." And
Look, would you have preferred that this episode be called "How Hela Got Her Groove Back"?
Nice. Nice. Very nice.
Yes.
Wow!
Yes.
Nicely done.
Ring the bell.
Sorry, I have to admit, you could hear me laugh when I started to ask it because I was really proud of myself.
That's pretty good.
It just came to me now. That's why I started laughing. I wasn't loaded with that one, but yeah, I don't know that we needed it. Kate Blanchett maybe doesn't get to do enough comedy, to Katie's point, that might be the single reason she's like, yeah, sure. And they were like, hey, a couple lines in this other one. Yeah, why not?
She was great.
Yeah.
It was a story that it just seemed like an odd story. It ended well, I guess.
I mean, it's
seems
really,
like
it's her redemption story. We'll never see a redemption of Hela, I think, ever.
No.
So I thought that was kind of a cool thing. Like,
yeah,
I never expected that.
They just took two characters. For me, it was like that Shang-Chi's uncle, father. I don't remember the relationship. He,
Father.
the 10 ring father, the 10 rings guy. Okay, it's fine. You put him in What If. And Hela, I don't really care about Hela. She was in Ragnarok. That was fine. It was two people that never should have been in the same room. It was fine. I just didn't see it as like oh my God, what if Hela found that? Like, you'd never ponder that. So it just was like, it seemed like a stretch to me, like you said, taking magnets and just throwing them all together. But it ended well. I thought she looked good in white. So.
Daniel Drew making a point, by the way. I always skip the opening credits to avoid seeing the potential cast they got back. There's a few of those. There's one where I'm like, wait, Elizabeth Olsen, and there's another. It was the Kahhori one. I'm like, oh, Benedict Cumberbatch. So yeah, there are a few times where it's like, I don't know. They just put the voice cast at the end, I guess. But I don't know. That's probably what the actors struck about. So maybe they want their names up front. I don't know. It's on a list of things that's probably important, but I do agree that it probably is worth skipping the credits for that reason. Mr. Conair, what did you think of this episode?
Kate Blanchett doing comedy was great, and at times, note everyone was like, it felt like Tar, her character from Tar, kind of melded with Hela in this, because
really
some of that sarcasm was so Tar, and I loved her in that movie. So any excuse I think to get her is worth it. I agree, this is not a what if any of us was asking about. We wouldn't think to ask about it. We didn't need it. It was fine. I didn't like that ending as much as the rest of you guys, but I will say you guys are making strong points about it was a surprise. Like, we all kind of would assume Hela would get things back and be like, all right, thank you, and then go back to her wave of destruction. But her being humbled, I think it did play. It was a nice parallel to Thor, but didn't feel as sort of redundant like the Peggy story. Yeah, this one felt at least a bit more fresh. And Odin is is a terrible father. I think that's
so bad.
one thing that just comes off
he's an
of
even
any
worse he's an even worse spouse, by the way. Let's make sure that we touch on
Oh,
that
horrible.
just briefly. I'm just gonna say,
He stole
Terrible.
Loki.
Yeah,
yeah, that's true. He
But
did steal. He did
He
right
stole a
there.
baby.
right. In the end, too, and we got a little more Hela in the last episode too, and yeah, it was a character. It's funny. It did make me want to revisit Thor Ragnarok, just because I don't remember Hela that well. I have to admit from that
Yeah.
film. I know she was in it. I know she was cool. I know she destroyed the hammer, but she didn't necessarily make the impression I would have expected.
Wait, she killed Sam Rockwell in that movie? Is that what you're trying to say?
So
Yes.
good.
But
Hammer,
I
yeah.
think it was a character.
Like an
It was
MC.
fun to see more of. Yes, Lionel. And maybe we'll get her again next year. We'll see.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess we will get that Red Guardian one. Season 3, whenever that might be. We've touched on 1602 a couple of times. But we'll circle back with you, Eric. Is there anything that you would like to say about it that hasn't been said? Is there anything that worked about what if the Avengers assembled in 1602? It is a lot of just sort of throwing things in there. It's a lot of puns. It's a lot of jokes. It's a lot of like Hulk smasheth or something, I think is what we get. It's like, okay, I get it, because there's, I did like, the one thing I did like in this is sort of the running gag where Loki's always trying to tell people about Iago and what a great character Iago is. I like that enough. Let's put it that way. It was like it was a moment.
The reference to York was funny, I guess. You know.
I like that we got Paul Rudd in this episode. I didn't like the way they used him. I didn't like so he's eating a lot of cakes, but I liked that they used him. But finish your thought, Eric. Sorry.
Yeah, it's just this is when I circling back. The cast, I mean, that they were able to get so many of them back is stunning. And again, it feels like it must have been one of those pitched to them as like, this is going to be a lark. It'll be fun. It'll be done. Don't worry about it. We're not going to do a second take of anything. So it's all good. It'll happen fast. But I think my disappointment with this was also the title, because 1602 is this really interesting series that Neil Gaiman did a bunch of years back, Marvel 1602. And I thought, oh, maybe it'll be connected to that somehow. And I haven't read that in years, but it wasn't. It was basically that movie. Was it Your Highness? The one with James Franco? It was basically that film with Marvel characters and
Robin Hood Men in Tights.
Your Highness, I believe, also had Natalie Portman in it. Oh, geez.
And
there's a movie I hadn't thought about in a minute. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So you're saying if the urge comes to watch 1602, instead just rent Your Highness, I guess.
Actually, I'm saying Brody hit it right. Rent Men in Tights.
Yeah,
you'll be much happier with that, I promise.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Were there any positive, enduring memories from 1602 for you, David? I know this was not your least favorite episode. We know what you did on Christmas Eve. You are indeed the Grinch who stole What If Happy Hogan Saved Christmas, but that's fine.
Thank you. So you already know my problem with Peggy Carter meeting Captain America.
Sure.
Captain America is the most noble of all heroes, right? He's the goody two shoes. There's incursions happening because there's someone from from another universe, someone who's out of place. And it takes Tony Stark's, by the way, he went from I don't know anything to creating a machine that can find the stranger. That's amazing, right? So they use the machine to make Captain America turn green. And he's like, oh yeah, I'm the outsider. The world is being destroyed. You know you're the outsider and you don't say anything. And you're Captain America, the most noble person in the world. That seemed odd to me, that he wouldn't say, oh, wait a minute, I'm from another time. I hit Thanos' arm and I'm here. I don't belong here. So it's probably me.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't he just say that? And it had to like discover who. I thought it was going to be like some guy in the crowd, right? They're like, that guy, go get him.
Yeah.
You're like, great. But like Captain America He's a good guy. He should have known.
It was going to be early 2000s Rob Schneider standing up. You can do it. And be like, well, how did he get there? Well, you just put him back through. It's fine. We don't need a third Deuce Bigalow movie. But that's not what we got.
The Aaron Rodgers of Adam Sandler.
I broke again.
No, you know what? I would say that Rob Schneider was in for 4 snaps, but duly noted. Yeah, Katie, anything you want to say about 1602?
Yeah, I mean, it's always nice when Peggy gets to see Steve, but apart from the whole thing, like, yeah, rent Men in Tights. It's so much better.
I did like the nod when she's talking to Steve and it's like, tell me about your Steve. And no, I don't think I will.
I will.
Like, I don't even know that I loved it, but I'm like, all right, that's, you know what it was? Oh, that's cute.
Right. And then, like, whenever I hear, like, oh, how cute, like, it feels like the most condescending burn without being a condescending burn. Correct. And I felt the same way about this episode. I was like, how cute.
Except she didn't want to talk about her Steve because he's a scrawny cripple.
Yeah.
That was the original line they rewrote.
The Steve I like? Oh, he's in a robot suit.
They brought Haley Atwell in for ADR on that line.
You ever see a bag of twigs?
That line really doesn't work. Yeah, let's go.
Y'all are going for the fences on this.
I'm just saying, like, you know.
Yeah. No, the inconsistencies with the Stark character, the fact that Happy hulks out, there's a lot of things that don't work. But focusing on Tony Stark, it reminds me, Michael, from the earlier episode, they have the Tony Stark character say "demon in a bottle," which is the actual storyline of Tony Stark in the early 80s, becoming a raging alcoholic and living on the streets. And Brody had to become Iron Man for like 3 calendar years in buying comic books. So I did like that, sort of like some of those, like the real inside stuff that isn't even from the movie, stuff that's like from the comics. But did you get anything out of 1602, Michael?
I got the fact that it was just a huge waste of Elizabeth Olsen's day coming into record. Like,
I mean, she probably recorded all of her episodes on one day. Does that help, or does that not really help?
I thought that was the only one she spoke in, but she had this weird accent. Like,
they should have brought back her Sokovia accent.
It was like really
Peggy
weird.
Carter, what are you doing here?
And I kept thinking, I'm like,
now doing here.
Like, is this really
you in
her?
your tactical ways?
It didn't really sound like her. I didn't like that Steve was the person that was messing everything up.
To David's point, that's probably the worst thing about the episode. The execution's bad on a lot, but the concept that Steve is essentially causing, if the Watcher had his way, the death of that universe.
It's a really good point. Yeah.
And it's all Steve's fault. That's not very Steve-like, is it, Michael?
No, I was hoping it would be someone we hadn't seen yet instead of someone that was like right under our nose. I was hoping it was going to be like, because they brought Elizabeth Olsen in, I was hoping it would be like Quicksilver. And no one could see him because he was so fast and he'd just been running around the whole time. Want it to be
Aaron Tyler Johnson or Ralph Boner? Which one did you want?
I figured that. I thought for a second while I was watching it, I was like, I wonder if it's Ralph Boner. Yeah. And it wasn't. No. But I figured, if they brought anyone, they'd probably do
ATJ.
What's that actor's name? What's his
Aaron
name?
Taylor
Evan
Johnson.
Peters. No, Evan.
Oh, Evan Peters. Yeah. Well,
I figured if they brought any one in, it would be his, but I didn't see his name, so I thought, well, if they're gonna show him, it's gonna be some other.
I thought it was gonna be Agatha all along, but what do I know?
You know they're gonna try and do that next year, but like, I don't know.
I just like how they are mixing all these characters. Like, they're taking all the same characters and they're trying to put them in all these different stories, and they kind of look the same and they kind of act the same. And I'm like trying to figure out, is this or no? And I would rather if each episode focus more on a couple and then leave them alone. Get some more. You know, it just, the amount of episodes that, like, Captain Carter, Tony Stark, Sebastian Stan's character, like I just felt like
there is a lot of Bucky. You're right.
Yeah, I just felt like it was why you're confusing me. Are these all the same stories? Are they different stories? Why does Sora look the same?
There's Steve Rogers, Captain America voice actor, is named Josh Keaton, and I did see his name in the credits many, many times this season. Quite a few, actually. And I don't know, maybe he does other characters as well, but we did see a lot of him. Yeah, it was like the idea that they, grabbed Peggy for that story and then sort of grab her again at the end of the episode, getting, that's one of those. Oh, Benedict Cumberbatch is in this episode. Interesting. Setting up the finale for season 2. What if Strange Supreme intervened? My question is, what if Chalupa Supreme intervened? But maybe for another time. What do you think, Michael, if this episode, the final episode of season 2, getting Strange Supreme back?
Well, that episode had like every person in it, and it was just too much trying to like pretend that these are all different characters.
I mean, even Stanley Tucci was in this episode. That's how you know everyone is in it. Yes.
Yeah. And I think that's what really kind of set apart the first episode, was the fact that it was so standalone and it was just these characters and we didn't really see them again. And this was just too reliant on like star power. I think it's all about, we've got these big name actors and all these little dinky cartoons and like, aren't we amazing? And it's just, no, like that's not what.
Well, we did get to hear Jeremy Renner as Hawkeye in one of these episodes. I think that was the Christmas one. So, the odds of seeing him on screen in something produced is not entirely likely. But I know what you mean. They definitely.
And there's there's such burnout on like superhero television and film, and I think it's because we're expecting the audience has seen all of these and they're going to get it and they're going to want to follow this story. And that's just not the way everyone watches films. Like maybe if you are, a diehard comic book person, you're going to watch them all. But I think it's just too reliant on star power instead of like new things that are just haven't been covered. It's just like they're chewing it up. It's like a baby bird and a mama bird. It's like the mama bird already ate it and now we've got to eat it again.
This is not my mother. This is a scary sport. Katie, what, all of that notwithstanding, were you okay with the team up between Kahhori and Peggy Carter because of how much you enjoyed the earlier episode?
I loved it.
And I very rarely had to read her dialogue, so that helped a lot for me because I'm very lazy, just incredibly lazy. Yeah.
It was a nice end to the series, and I actually really did enjoy this. I totally understand what you're saying with the whole baby bird thing. Like it does feel a little bit weird, like when Happy Hulk Hogan was in 1602, it was like, okay, are we now being what if within our own what if episodes? Because that just feels like we're wanking it. Like it just that I do agree with that. I will say with this episode, I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed seeing all these different characters kind of come to a head from the different series that we just watched. Felt very similar to when the Watcher pulled his own little Avengers team to save everything. I think we need to put Strange Supreme / Strange Mephisto to bed, though. Like we've done it.
We should. We absolutely should. And I don't need buddy cop bantering between the Watcher and Peggy. We've had we've seen it.
Fun. I wouldn't go so far as to call it cute, but
It's getting close.
He almost high-fived.
Goofy.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I do understand it being the last episode because you kind of built towards it, and it makes sense in that way. But yeah, it was certainly not my favorite. It was more like, okay, well, I got one more to watch, and kind of it. There is the pulling a fast one where Strange is like, oh, I really need your help, and so that there's that moment from the previous episode, but then pretty quickly it's like, yeah, this is the crazy one who like destroyed his reality. Remember him? Like,
yeah,
he's doing good now. I did like
such a heart-rending
when
episode
Peggy,
for the first season.
Yeah, when Peggy did the jailbreak, I thought was something that was fun. When she smashed into there were all of the caged prisoners, if you will. I know that Eric will just jump to you because I know that was something that you liked very much in this episode. As I look for the image that you sent to me,
I think I was really split on this.
What?
Explain what this image is, though, for those people who see it.
I did not realize.
What?
This is
that
Cabin in the
Clan?
Woods.
Cabin in the Woods, yeah.
Cabin in the Woods.
Okay.
And the part where they just unleashed every sort of villain they had, bottled up. It gave me some Cabin in the Woods vibe.
Yeah.
But mind you, I like Cabin in the Woods, but I think it's almost like that was one of those moments of it felt a little closer to fan service, fan fiction than What If. Now, some of it was fun. An image I really also liked was when Peggy threw the shield and it got stuck in Wanda's head and she had to pull it out. Like I'm like, that was a nice moment, and I didn't even notice till I froze it. You could see a little bit of blood splatter at the top.
So graphic and cool.
I didn't catch that. That's great.
Yeah, very, very, very nicely done. With
Cut
your,
Wanda in
screen
half.
capture,
Yeah, exactly. So that's your dessert, Brody. Right there is that moment.
Yeah. They really Mary Kate'd her.
But this episode, I think, spoke to what was kind of what was fun about the season, but maybe then also the issues they ran into. Like the Watcher, maybe they pushed a little bit too much of so you're saying the buddy cop comedy feel of it. The Riggs and Murtaugh of it all with Peggy. And Jeffrey Wright's a great actor, great voice actor. The Watcher's a fun character, but you're right. He's a watcher. He's not a doer. He's not a talker. He's just supposed to watch. And so the ending, I think the ending made sense for what they did with this season. The stuff with Strange, it just is. It's like, we get it. It's Rachel McAdams. She's cool.
Yeah.
But come on, man.
I mean,
thousands of
all
lifetimes.
of the cast of Mean
pieces.
Girls, is she really the one that you're going to destroy entire universes to get back? I mean,
Tina Fey,
really?
Maybe.
Kat Dennings.
Lacey Chabert, perhaps, but
But
I agree that there was there's sort of like a throw everything at the kitchen sink. There's a lot of characters, some of whom get to speak. Killmonger, as I referenced, doesn't get to speak, but there is a lot of that, and that is kind of fun. I think that there could have been more in terms of things that got broken out. There was like 6-gun Loki, from the Wild West. There was stuff. They could have done more with it, but again, this is if we were getting Daniel Drew 45-minute episodes.
Oh, I do have to say hello to Mr. Hollywood, who is in the chat. That is my son. So hello there, Mr.
Did he finally realize that you're doing a podcast?
Yeah, so he's just messaging you instead of shouting at you from.
Hey, listen, remember last time I think he said he had COVID, so I'll take this over that one.
Oh yeah, Doctor. Well, I mean, I feel like we're at the one period in your life where you're not going to get it again. I mean, it's only a month ago. Give him another week. And yes, Mr. Hollywood does say Doctor Strange What If episode in season 1 is the best Marvel episode I have seen. Perhaps you don't know that one night Happy Hogan saved Christmas, but that's a conversation for another time. I'm glad that you like that. So our buddy Daniel Drew in the chat pointing out that the voice actress for Kahhori is playing a character in Echo, maybe a descendant.
She'll probably just be Kahhori.
Which you'll all have to.
So exhausted.
You'll all have to
How
find
did
out
I get here?
when
In
you
Mohawk.
see Echo. But yes, she's in episode 1. So yes, that the character that she plays, I don't know if there'll be a reveal for that.
I'm under the impression Kahhori doesn't age.
That's
Because
entirely possible.
They
Came
kinda
back
said that, yeah.
speaking English like a
Yeah.
pro.
Well, I think
And Spanish.
you know, basically possessing a portion of an Infinity Stone probably can do that to you. You know.
Okay, fine,
yeah.
fair.
So, but when you lose the Infinity Stone, that becomes the issue. But as long as you hang on to it, it's probably fine.
Unless you go to the TBA and you'll find a couple
in a
That's great
drawer.
point.
Yeah.
So our next episode, we'll be talking about Echo. And I don't know how many episodes of Echo we'll be talking about in the show, but I would like to do it a week from today on the 12th of January. Time TVA, and TBA. We'll see how everybody's schedule works. We'll be doing an episode of Echo. As always, there's always the embargo. I did see the first one. And I don't have anything bad to say about it, but I feel like, we got to see where this goes. So I'm going to watch a couple more tonight, and then I'll email all of you when I feel like. I feel like 5 hours of TV, although the second episode is 39 minutes. I don't know if that's under the embargo. So I don't know. We're going to get like 4 hours and 10 minutes of Echo. We'll see how it feels doing a show on it. And we might even set out planning to do 5 episodes, and then we'll realize that we have more things to do. And that's, of course, Eric Connor has to go. And
he has to go to the bathroom.
That's why he brought his Hulk Hogan. And good night. I didn't see his because he sends me all kinds of things in the private chat, but I'm glad that Eric stayed with us as long as he did. And I know we've been going for an hour and 46 minutes, but I wanted to give some time to each of these 9 episodes. A lot of times when we do these whole season things, we just skip entire episodes, and we disagree on which episode we could have skipped, and that's the problem. I think if we all hated the same ones, but so we will be back. And yes, Daniel is correct. It's only 5 episodes, and Daniel has a comment. I don't even know what it means. I don't know anything about it.
Her name is Bonnie, I think the Kahhori actress.
Again, there's an embargo for what I've watched. I don't know anything about it. Cami Egan wants to know, is Echo better than Secret Invasion so far? I hated Secret Invasion episode 1, as you'll recall. I did not feel that way with this. Yeah, I know that, but by episode 2, everybody came around on Secret Invasion. So we will see. It is only 5 episodes, but I don't know. I don't want to do another hour 45-minute episode of talking about it. So we'll see. But I don't know. I mean, I found I didn't need her story to continue from the Hawkeye miniseries, but we all knew it was happening, and I was like, all right, well, let's see what they do with it, and we'll talk more about that probably next Friday.
After the embargo.
Number of episodes to be determined that we're talking about, and time. It honestly depends on Eric. When's he teaching the impressionable youth? We appreciate everybody who stuck with us in the live chat. We appreciate Craig Robbins, who got up Saturday morning, first thing, watched all of this, and probably going to bombard us with messages. And we appreciate that from Craig, and we appreciate everybody. Count Eric Connor is where you can find him on social media. And Katie, where can people keep in touch with you?
You can always find me at ElSassyPants, ElSassyPants, sometimes with a Z if you're on TikTok. And you can come see me live in Los Angeles if you're in the area at the Pack Theater every other Wednesday with Nothing Burger. We have a show next Wednesday, the 10th, I believe it is. Yeah, come out, come see, come hang. Tell me that I'm wrong about Kahhori. Go ahead, say it to my face.
And if Eric hadn't left, he would have done what he always does and pretended that he was going to try and go see your show.
It's so
Although
funny.
before we started, he said he
Word.
was. Before we started, he
Word.
said he was going to go, but then he got COVID, and
He
then you're
did.
like, "Oh, funny story. I actually skipped that show."
I did.
And I'm sorry, I'm going to interrupt the plugs because Cam Egan says hilarious show tonight. It was a blast. I agree. It's always fun to get this gang together. David Brody, where can people find you?
Well, I have a confession to make before I tell you. When you tweeted out that we were doing this episode tonight, you put everybody's Twitter handles in the title.
Yeah.
And I saw El Sassy Pants, and not remembering everybody's Twitter handles, I thought that was Michael. So I want to apologize.
His pants are way beyond sassy. I think that's the important
He's
thing.
very sassy in a good way.
But
So-
not his pants. Yeah.
He's got the dour dungarees.
I've never seen Michael below the elbows, so his pants could be sassy.
Well, make sure you do not give him your cell phone number. Otherwise, you will see a lot more Michael Shirley.
I'll keep that in mind. You can find me at David Brody. That's Brody. And of course, you can always hear me on the Brooklyn Boys podcast on all platforms. New episode next week.
Michael Shirley.
Yeah. You make it.
Where
sound
do
like
people?
You make
What's
it
that?
sound like I send you nudes or something.
It kind of did sound like that. I'm
It
not
did,
gonna
yeah.
lie.
I wanted it to sound that way. Do I
Okay.
need to say Michael's actually okay?
Well-
So Michael has never sent us nudes of himself.
No, not
However,
not
there
me.
has
Oh,
been
caveat.
nudity. There has been nudity in text, and
Yeah.
our buddy Eric gets very verklempt, if you will, when they show up. There's things
is
he's
it
been
a-
tagged in.
Classic-
Twitter.
Is it a classic gentleman sitting on the edge of a bed like that?
No,
It's more
No,
like people
it's-
bathing in spaghetti
like-
or something.
it's like videos that would come up as your recommended after you finish Two Girls, One Cup. You know, I mean, it's more. It's not that, but it's like, oh, if you like that, you may enjoy this, and if you enjoy that, you may enjoy Michael Shirley. And where can people find him?
Oh, you can find me on the reruns of Long Island Medium. Is that lost on everyone? Okay.
No, I'm
I'm kind of feeling like Kelly or Teresa Caputo.
Oh, okay.
totally do.
His hair. Feel like
It's so
see
good.
dead people. You can find me on Instagram at I Hate Michael Shirley and on Twitter at Michael X Shirley.
On X at Michael X.
Oh, that's
Shirley.
right. Yeah, that should
Well,
be easy for me to remember.
Exactly. In any case, thank you to everyone. Thank you to our panel. Thank you, What If, for giving us a mostly enjoyable season, unlike some shows that have been produced this year. We will see everybody next Friday talking about some of Echo. But until then, as the great Stan Lee would say, Excelsior!